Okay, well, obviously the theme tonight has to do with Halloween, being scared to death. And I think there's nothing as delicious as being scared on Halloween when you're a kid. So I'm going to take you back to the olden days, and some of you will remember those that are almost as old as me. Halloween was like second only to Christmas as a kid's holiday. And we would make our own costumes by and large. And there were lots of hobos and witches, and we would be getting ready. And I can remember getting ready for this particular Halloween. I was 9 or 10 years old, and I was going to be a witch, although I wanted to be a pretty witch. You never wanted to be an ugly witch, you always wanted to be a pretty witch. And we would go out for Halloween, not like kids do today, when your parents are always with you. Anybody who wasn't in preschool, the preschoolers your parents would take out. Everybody else, you went out on your own, if you remember that. So, you know, we get a crowd of us, and we would hit the neighborhood. And I was going with my 2 younger brothers, who, the little one, Tommy, he was 5, and Dave was 7, and I was like 9 or 10. My girlfriend, who was 10, and 3 boys down the street, the McCowan boys, who were in the same age range. Anyway, but I was the oldest, and of course, always had to take care of the boys, right? And as we're getting ready, my dad comes in the kitchen. You know, we're getting our costumes on and putting the black stuff on your face and getting these pillowcases, because we used to get our loot, you know, our candy in pillowcases, not in any cute little pumpkin or anything. You just got a pillowcase. My dad comes in the room, and he's got this hideous full-face rubber mask on. You know, it's got like one eye, and it's got a scar, and it's got blood, and it's just horrible. And my little brother takes one look at him and starts to cry, right? So my mom says, "Oh, John, take that off. You're scaring the children." So he takes it off. And my little brother calms down, and we all get ready to go out. And we go out, and it's dark, and it's October, and we don't have global warming, so it's cold. And the neighborhood I live in, it was a good-sized neighborhood centered around like an old farm pond. And the roads were shaped like this, like a cent sign. I don't know if that's the right direction for you guys or not. Remember cents? That's when you had something that cost less than $1, which doesn't happen anymore. So think about it. This is the roads of the neighborhood, and the pond's in the middle, okay? But this section right in here is just a gravel road. There's no cars on it, because it goes across the outlet to the pond. So there's a bridge, it's a gravel road, it's a bridge, and beneath the bridge is about a 10-foot drop to the stream. All right, and there's no street lights in the whole neighborhood, remember that. So anyway, we're going out, and we start, and we grab the other kids, so there's 7 of us, and we're starting to go to house, and this is great. This is like the best event of the year, and we're hitting each house, and the families back then would go all out. You know, they would dress up, they would put the candy out, and we'd run, as we were collecting our stuff and trick-or-treating at every door, we'd run into other bunches of kids, and we'd get the lowdown. And the lowdown would be, the Adams are giving out full-size candy bars, but when you go for them, Mr. Adams jumps out of the closet at you. Okay, so we're on to that. And then you say, well, now the Moors, you're going to have to do a trick. Okay, they're not giving any candy until you do a trick. So we all had to think about, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I remember one of the McCowan boys would bend his thumb back and prove he was double-jointed, and somebody else sang a song, and one kid tried to do a cartwheel in the living room and knock something over, you know. So, but it was fun. It was a big deal. And then they'd say, oh, don't go to the rinks. There's nobody home. There's no point in going up there and all this. But the rumor out, and I should have said this earlier, the rumor out was, and it had happened the year before, that on this dark stretch of road, the teenage boys of the neighborhood who had aged out of going out for Halloween, because once you get to be about 14, it wasn't cool to go and do Halloween trick-or-treating anymore. That wasn't, you were out. And there was a group of about 4 teenage boys, 15 years old, who had aged out of trick-or-treating. And they would go down there and scare the little kids as they came across and take their candy. Okay, so I remember saying before we went out, I said, well, I don't want to go down the gravel road. I don't want to cross the bridge because, you know, the big boys are down there and they're scary. You know, it was very scary. And so my mom and dad said, all right, just stay on the road, right, and don't go down that way, and it'll be all right. And So that's what we did. But it's a long way, and we're hitting every house. And I got a 5-year-old with me, and we did the whole route. We were coming around. We got the big bag of candy. We've been walking for about an hour, hour and a half, and we're on the far side, and we either have to go all the way around the lake again to get home, or we cut across the gravel road, right? And my little brother doesn't look like he's going to make it all the way around the road again. I didn't want to carry him, so I said, come on, Carolyn, we'll do it. We're going to go across. We'll be fine. So we start walking, and we're terrified. It's dark, and we're expecting to be jumped by hobgoblins at any point. And sure enough, all of a sudden we see and hear these boys, these men, these big guys, running towards us, full out, screaming, run, run. And we're like, ah! And we start to run, okay? And we're just screaming, and these guys are coming after us, and we're running like crazy on this gravel road in the dark with our pillowcases full of candy. And my little brother trips and falls. Of course, you know, you got costume all over the place. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then the boys streak past us, right? And they're going, run, and these, you know, and we're like, I got to go back for my little brother. And I hear big footsteps coming down the gravel. I'm like, oh my God. But there's my little brother on the ground crying with his candy spilled all over. So I go back, and I'm coming, get up, get up. And this big black shape comes over and leans over him and says in my dad's voice, come on, Tommy, you'll be all right. Brush it off. And I'm like, oh. And then he turns, and it's obviously my dad, and he turns to Frank. He says, Frank, get your flashlight on. All right, so another big man turns on his flashlight. It's the McCowan's father, okay? So we're like, oh my God, Daddy, this guy. And they picked up the candy, and they picked up my brother, and they walked us home. And as we were just terrified, but we calmed down, and we were so glad to see him. And we got home, and other kids went home, and I'm sitting on the living room floor, and we're trying to trade out the candy, and I'm trying to trade anything for these stupid Necco wafers, you know. And I hear my dad saying to my mom in the kitchen, he said, Helen, you wouldn't believe the look on those boys' face when we popped out from under the bridge with a mask on.